Hello and welcome to another Deck Tech here on Sheep SMTG. Today we're going to talk about what was personally my favourite deck of the previous standard format. It had a reasonable matchup against Mardu, a good matchup against Black-Green, and it has definitely benefited from the banning of Felidar Guardian, as Saheeli was definitely its worst matchup. It's gained a bit of traction in the past week, particularly since the banning. So today we're going to talk about Blue-Red Emerge. Blue-Red Emerge is a synergy-driven, graveyard-based deck that exploits cost reduction on a number of creatures, get large Eldrazi into play, as well as recursive zombie threats. It's fun, technically challenging to play, very rewarding, it's very powerful, so here we go with the deck. The deck plays 4 copies of Elder Deep Fiend as its real haymaker at the top of its curve. This is a great card I feel in the current meta, whether you want to tap down 4 of your opponent's lands on turn 4, whether you want to flash in and surprise a creature with a block. It also has great synergy with the next card we played, this being 4 copies of Kozilek's Return. Kozilek's Return is a great sweeper. The front side is instant speed Pyroclasm, which is reasonable, but we're really playing it for second ability. Every time we play one of our Elder Deep Fiends, we can flash back Kozilek's Return. Because of the flash on Elder Deep Fiend, we can do this at instant speed. This is great against vehicles. It kills Heart of Kiran. It's what gives this deck a good Mardu matchup. So we talked about the Eldrazi, but how do we get to the Eldrazi? Well, the key part of the deck that really makes it function are the Stitchwings. The deck plays 4 copies of Advanced Stitchwing and 4 copies of Stitchwing Scarab. These are a great recursive threat. On their own, they may be a little undercosted, but the fact you can keep bringing them back, so when you emerge your Deep Fiend from them, you do go down a creature, but you can get it back, so it's not gone forever. They give you a great late game. You can cheat them out on mana effectively. If you can dump an Advanced Stitchwing in your graveyard in an early turn, you can pay 3 mana and discard 2 cards to bring it back. And as you'll see with this deck, discarding is not necessarily a cost. And one of the cards that portrays this probably the best in the entire deck is Prized Amalgam. This deck is strictly blue-red, but it plays Prized Amalgam, which it can't hardcast, with the sole intention of we're going to dump the Amalgam in our graveyard, and then when we bring back our Stitchwings, we're going to be paying 2 or 3 mana to get back 2, 3, 4, if you're really lucky, 5 zombies for a real explosive turn. So I mentioned about dumping cards in your graveyard. To achieve this, we play 4 copies of Cathartic Reunion, and 3 copies of Tormenting Voice. These are card-neutral spells. They don't give us any card advantage. They just mean we can put some cards in our graveyard and remain with a full grip. New addition from Amonkhet, we play 2 copies of Blood Rage Brawler. This card is a fine aggressive creature. A 4/3 for 2 mana is a good turn 2 play. And usually discard would be, the drawback for having such a powerful creature. But it's another way we can put like an Advanced Stitchwing in our graveyard on turn 2, for example. We also play 4 copies of Lightning Axe. Lightning Axe is another way for us to discard. It's also a fine removal spell. Once again, the discard drawback is not so much of a drawback. And again, it's really good in the current meta where you want to be able to hit things like Heart of Kiran, a Grimflayer with Delirium active. You'll notice this deck is playing no Fiery Tempers. Which originally it did do, but whenever I've played the deck, I always feel Fiery Temper to be underperforming. So I just prefer the 4 straight Lightning Axes. And also we have a somewhat contentious main deck choice here. I play 4 main deck Fevered Visions. Personally, playing the deck, I feel the deck doesn't really work without Fevered Visions. You need to be able to keep discarding, and to do that, you need to be able to keep drawing. So Fevered Vision is a great source of card flow. It will also do some damage to your opponent in certain matchups. I know some people have cut this card in more recent lists because of the poor matchup Fevered Visions has against Mardu. But personally, I feel the blue-red deck gets so much more out of Fevered Visions that it's kind of worth the drawback. Onto the mana base. We are a 2-colour deck. It's somewhat simple. We play 4 copies of Wandering Fumarole, 4 copies of Spire Bluff Canal, and 2 copies of Highland Lake as our dual lands. As we're playing big Eldrazi, we also benefit from 2 copies of Sanctum of Ugin. This is a key piece which allows you to chain your Elder Deep Fiends together for just ultimate control over the game. And as for our basics, we play 5 islands and 6 mountains. We do need double blue, so you may think about playing 6 islands and 5 mountains, but we have a lot of red spells that we have to be able to cast on turn 2 to make this deck really function, which is why I think you need more mountains than islands. And now onto some sideboard options. Control decks are pretty much our worst deck, so we have to sideboard with them in mind. So we have 2 copies of Dispel and 2 copies of Negate for protecting our spells. Not so much counter wars, but protecting ourselves when we play our big spells. A new addition from Amonkhet I'm really excited to try in this deck is Drakehaven. I think this is a great addition out of the sideboard in the control matchups. It gives us something else to do, another strategy, another win condition. We don't just have to rely on our Stitch Wings, we can discard for 2/2 Drakes. And also, Key to the City, I think is really good in the control matchup. If you can resolve this spell, it's a constant way of discarding cards. That allows you to draw a card every turn if you need to. Make creatures unblockable, which is less relevant. It's just the ability that you can keep discarding, keep triggering your Drake Havens, put your zombies in the graveyard to bring them back. I think it's a really undervalued card in the control matchup. The rest of the sideboard is mostly forms of removal and mostly cards that just ensure we have a better matchup against Mardu post-board. Obviously, Mardu is changing its deck quite drastically in post-board games, so we have to sideboard to reflect that. We have 1 copy of Hazaret the Fervent. Again, another way to discard cards, another beefy threat. I think this card's very flexible. I think it's going to be quite good in the control matchups, but it can also be good in some of the mid-range, good against some of the mid-range decks that aren't using Grasp of Darkness. We also have 2 copies of Magma Spray. This is pure Scrap Heaps Ground Your Hate. Somewhat playable in the mirror because it gets rid of Stitching Scarb. 2 copies of Nahiri's Wrath. These are your way to destroy Gideon. It's also a sweeper if you really need one. I really do like this card in games 2 and 3 against Mardu. We have a singleton copy of Release the Gremlins, obviously for against Mardu, but also against decks like Aetherworks Marvel, Dynavolt Tower. This is our only way of dealing with a resolved artifact, so very valuable in those matchups. And we also have 1 copy of Wretched Griff. I found Wretched Griff to be very good in matchups where you need to trigger your Sanctum of Ugins to find your Elder Deep Fiends more reliably. Mostly this is going to be good in Mardu, but yeah, it's very good if you feel it's a matchup where you're leaning on your Deep Fiends just a little bit more. It gives you another chance to find off a Sanctum. It's also just, a 3/4 flyer that most of the time you can bring in for 2 or 3 mana that replaces itself in your hand. So that's the deck tech. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you do like it, give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot. There should be a link in the description to a written list of the deck if you are interested in playing it, so definitely remember to look there. And if you are interested in playing Standard in this Amonkhet format, we do have a few more deck techs you can look at through our channel. And if you remember to subscribe to our channel, there will be more Standard and limited Amonkhet content being released over the coming weeks and months that hopefully you'll join us for. And I hope you have fun playing the deck.